Hi, it's Ashleigh from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and welcome back to my channel where I make a lot of cake and cookie decorating tutorials as well as give a lot of baking business tips. So I had a lot of reject cookies left over. This often happens if I do a big batch and then I have a few that maybe got wrecked when I was taking them out of the oven or they just never baked up properly. So then I place them in the freezer and hope that I can use them one day for something. Well, finally, I had that opportunity come up when I was in a little bit of a hurry, and I just love it when I can use up something that I already have when I'm in a pinch. I was asked to make a dessert table for my sister-in-law's engagement party, and I thought, oh, I've got those leftover sugar cookies that I never used, so I might as well try to use them up. And because the theme of this was fairly open, I didn't need to make any specific characters or anything, I knew that these round cookies would be perfect. So what I started with is I airbrushed everything. Now the reason I did that was just in case I didn't get full coverage with all of this rose and flower making, then at least all that would show would be a little bit of gold. Now the colors for this was a dusty rose and sage green and a little bit of gold accents here and there. So I decided to go with the whole classic look and make sure that I made all of these flowers a dusty rose color. I've made a few videos where I show you how to make 3D flowers using royal icing, but some of you still struggle with getting the right texture. It is all about adding in that meringue powder. I always add in about 2 to 3 more tablespoons of meringue powder than I normally would to a batch. Normally my ratio is about 1 tablespoon of meringue powder to 1 cup of icing or powdered sugar, but I end up adding about 2 to 3 tablespoons to 1 cup, I would say. And then I also add in a little bit more icing sugar as well, and just a little bit of water. Now the key here is to whip it, and I used to try to whip this by hand. It never works out, so you really need to whip it and whip it well with your whisk attachment, or whatever type of attachment that looks as close as it can possibly look to a balloon whisk. I really love using flowers to cover up mistakes because the beauty of this is I really don't need a perfectly round cookie to create these roses. And my problem with these cookies in the first place were they were not perfectly round at all. So this really helps to cover things up. Now the beauty of royal icing is if you did want to do different stacks of flowers, you really don't even have to use a flower nail in this instance. Of course, I'm only doing one singular flower here, so I don't need a flower nail anyway because I can just do it directly on the cookie. But let's say that you did want to stack things. All you have to do is dehydrate this in your oven at 175 degrees Fahrenheit for about 5 to 10 minutes, I would say, before you could stack on your other flowers. And it would be really simple to do. You just need to be careful that you don't knock off any of your existing petals. Now there is such thing as creating too dry of pipeable royal icing like this. If it's too dry, it never ever sticks to your cookie and it's incredibly difficult to pipe. If you're finding that, that means that you just need to add a little bit more water and again, go in with the meringue powder. The meringue powder is going to help you maintain your height. By the way, I am doing all of these with the exact same petal tip. I really don't like switching off tips when I don't have to, and I was in an incredible rush when I was completing these cookies, so it really does help speed things along when you can use the same tip. And you'll notice that I've done about 3 different flower designs now. I get stuck in ruts really easily, and especially when I was fulfilling orders, I got stuck in ruts because I would end up doing the same flower or the same type of rose over and over again because A, it was expedient, and B, that's what customers want. They want to see what you've already done. So that happens a lot. I really try to remind myself that I am not done the learning yet. There are so many other ways to do things. So I've really been watching a lot of quicker content lately. I also love to sit down and watch a full tutorial as well. But that quick content for someone who has done a lot of cake decorating before is really helpful for me because I kind of already know what they're doing. I just need to have a different inspiration or different idea. If you want full coverage on your cookie, do make sure that you're covering completely as much as you can. But don't fret because you can always add in leaves, which is what I'm going to do. And if you don't want to introduce a whole new color palette, you can always use things like edible pearls, or you can also do the leaves in a different color like white if you just want to keep it really neutral. Now on this cookie here, I'm actually going to be putting 2 flowers together. I didn't even wait for that one to dry or dehydrate in the oven because I know that I can be careful enough. But again, if you are worried, definitely dehydrate and then go ahead and finish off the cookies. The other great thing about this technique and decorating cookies that are naked underneath with no icing is that you can scrape off and nobody will even see that you've done any mistakes whatsoever because it will get all covered up. I used to think piping flowers was a very frustrating experience and I could never make it look how I wanted it to look, but really the reason comes down to having not the right texture of frosting. So again, I know we're going back to that frosting texture conversation, but it's just so important. If you nail that, this really won't take you long at all. I think maybe these cookies took me about an hour to complete, which is really not long at all. I feel like if I had done flat icing, that would take me a lot longer. Now, this technique is a little bit different than the techniques that I've been showing you, but notice how I'm overlapping the petals right behind one another. This is to create that really bunched look. All of the other flowers that I've shown you, it pretty much follows the exact same pattern where you do small rainbow arcs or you kind of tilt them inward to create a rose, but this is a little bit different. You're just kind of stacking things behind one another. I also did something a little different with the icing color here. Instead of adding in more dusty rose pink icing, I just went ahead and I added in more white icing. Now, I've seen lots of beautiful flower creations where people do multiple colors in one piping bag and then it pipes out so beautifully. Unfortunately, this wasn't the type of look that I was going for this time, but I definitely want to show you guys more of that in the future. So the color palette that I was given also featured a lot of brown tones in it as well, so I decided to go in very lightly with some brown airbrushing. Now, whenever you are using your airbrush on your cookies like this and you don't actually want them to be full brown, you want to just give a very light touch on your airbrush machine, or else it will come out way too dark. A lot of this footage here actually got cut because I didn't notice that I wasn't actually piping in frame, so I apologize. I really just cut that tipless piping bag in a V shape. And then I also have that much larger leaf tip that's sitting there, which I used for the larger leaves to really fill in a lot of those gaps. And these are the finished cookies. They ended up looking really great on the dessert table. You couldn't even tell that they were cookies that had no home before. Now, for me, the taste of these cookies were not so vastly different than when I bake them fresh as opposed to pulling them out frozen. However, I don't think that I would sell these necessarily. If I did, it would be at a discounted price because they're not perfectly round cookies and they were previously frozen. That being said, they still looked absolutely beautiful on the dessert table. Now let's get into the subscriber submission of the video. I love this little Boss Baby themed setup. It's so adorable and I love how it's so personalized as well. And if you want to be the next subscriber submission of the video, then please follow me at SD Bake Shop on Instagram, where you can either tag me in a photo or send me a photo. Any and all dessert levels are welcome. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading weekly, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!